July 1969. It's a little over 8 years since the flights of Gagarin and Shepard, followed quickly by President Kennedy's challenge to put a man on the moon before the decade is out. It is only 7 months since NASA's made a bold decision to send Apollo 8 all the way to the moon on the first manned flight of the massive Saturn V rocket. Welcome to our channel. If you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe. It only takes a second and you can always change your mind later. Let's jump back into the story. On July 20th, 1969, American astronauts Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin became the first humans ever to land on the moon. About 6.5 hours later, Armstrong became the first person to walk on the moon. As he took his first step, Armstrong famously said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." The Apollo 11 mission occurred 8 years later after President John F. Kennedy announced a national goal of landing a man on the moon by the end of the 1960s. Apollo 17, the final manned moon mission, took place in 1972. The American effort to send astronauts to the moon had its origins in an appeal President Kennedy made to a special joint session of Congress on May 25, 1961. "I believe this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth." At the time, the United States was still trailing the Soviet Union in space developments, and Cold War-era America welcomed Kennedy's bold proposal. In 1966, after 5 years of work by an international team of scientists and engineers, the NASA conducted the first unmanned Apollo mission, testing the structural integrity of the proposed launch vehicle and spacecraft combination. Then, on January 27, 1967, tragedy struck at Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida, when a fire broke out during a manned launch pad test of the Apollo spacecraft and Saturn rocket. 3 astronauts were killed in the fire. Despite this massive setback, NASA and its thousands of employees forged ahead, and in October 1968, Apollo 7, the first manned Apollo mission, orbited Earth and successfully tested many of its sophisticated systems needed to conduct a moon journey and landing. In December of the same year, Apollo 8 took 3 astronauts to the far side of the moon and back. And in March 1969, Apollo 9 tested the lunar module for the first time while in Earth orbit. That May, the 3 astronauts of Apollo 10 took the first complete Apollo spacecraft around the moon in a dry run for the scheduled July landing mission. At 9:32 a.m. on July 16th, with the world watching, Apollo 11 took off from Kennedy Space Center with astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins aboard. Armstrong, a 38-year-old civilian research pilot, was the commander of the mission. After traveling 240,000 miles in 76 hours, Apollo 11 entered a lunar orbit on July 19th. The next day, at 1:46 p.m., the lunar module Eagle, manned by Armstrong and Aldrin, separated from the command module where Collins remained. 5 hours ahead of the original schedule, Armstrong opened the hatch of the lunar module. As he made his way down the module's ladder, a television camera attached to the craft recorded his progress and beamed the signal back to Earth, where hundreds of millions watched in great anticipation. As Armstrong stepped off the ladder and planted his foot on the moon's powdery surface, he spoke his famous quote, which he later contended was slightly garbled by his microphone and meant to be, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." Aldrin joined him on the moon's surface 19 minutes later, and together they took photographs of the terrain, planted the United States flag, ran a few simple scientific tests, and spoke with President Richard Nixon. On July 22nd, Apollo 11 began its journey home, safely splashing down in the Pacific Ocean at 12:50 p.m. on July 24th. In an interview years later, Armstrong praises the hundreds of thousands of people behind the project. Every guy that's setting up the tests, cranking the torque wrench, and so on is saying, "Man or woman, if anything goes wrong here, it's not going to be my fault." Over the next 3.5 years, 10 astronauts will follow in their footsteps. Gene Cernan, commander of the last Apollo mission, leaves the lunar surface with these words: "We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return with peace and hope for all mankind." And that was the story of one giant leap for mankind, the first moon landing ever. If you enjoyed today's video, do be sure to support our channel, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest uploads. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.